Okay, this video is all about G3, which covers distance, midpoint, slope. You basically just need to memorize these formulas, and hopefully you've done that by now. And if not, you really need to get on it. Slope is rise over run, so that's the only one that the order really matters. Okay, so if you do y2 minus y1, make sure you do x2 minus x1. And the y's need to go on top. A good way to remember that is it's rise over run. So it's y's on top, rise and y's on top. And when you're applying a coordinate point, I know a lot of people get this confused. When you're applying a coordinate point, it's always x and then y. So when you're applying a coordinate point, it goes in alphabetical order, x, y, but slope is rise over run. Midpoint, anything that we talk about, like midpoint, mid-segment, okay, that's middle. And you should be thinking about the average, okay? And when you average, you add two pieces together and then you divide by 2. So I'm going to add the x's and divide by 2, add the y's, divide by 2. Midpoint means that it's a point. So this whole thing is one coordinate point. And the order really doesn't matter. Distance formula, you're going to subtract the x's, square them, subtract the y's, square those, add them together, and then take the square root. Okay? And remember, if you want, you can always get endless amounts of graph paper on your SOL, so you can always plot whatever 2 points you're trying to find the distance of, turn them into a right triangle, and use Pythagorean theorem, but that's up to you. Let's look at some practice questions. Basically, you just need to know those formulas, but let's do some practice questions just to make sure we got all this covered. What is the most likely slope of the line graphed above? 2 ways you can do this. If you have a graph, why not just count? Okay, that's the easiest way, I think. You can also pick 2 points and then calculate the slope using slope formula. If you're going to do that though, either way, you need to make sure that you are picking 2 points that cross perfectly through the grid. So I wouldn't want to use this as a point. I would want to use maybe this as a point or this as a point. Okay, pick where it's crossing through the grid. So, and it doesn't matter which 2 points you use, as long as you pick 2 points that are crossing through the grid like that. So, I'm going to pick these two because they're pretty close together. And our slope is rise over run. So you want to count either up or down first, because that's the y-axis. So I'm going down 1 and over 2. So my slope is negative 1/2. If you get confused, like when is the slope positive and when is it negative, just look at the line. The line is decreasing from left to right, it's going down. So my slope should be negative. So right off the bat, I could get rid of these choices easily. Okay? And I'm going down 1 and over 2, so this is my slope. Which 2 points determine a line parallel to QR? Okay. Key thing here being parallel. We know that parallel slopes are the same. And perpendicular slopes, we flip and switch. Okay? A couple ways you could do this. If you wanted to, you could just plot all these sets of points and just kind of look at it. That would help you eliminate some choices. The best way to do this, the most accurate way, is just to calculate the slope of this line and then go through all these other points and find their slope. Okay, so if we look at the line that we're given, we have, so we want to do y minus y, so I'm going to do 2 minus negative 2 divided by negative 1 minus 1. Okay, so 2 minus negative 2, that turns into 2 plus 2, so that's 4 over negative 1 minus 1. That's going to be negative 2. And 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. So that's where you want to start. Then what I would need to do, and I'm not going to do this for the sake of time, but I would need to go through all of these other choices and see which other set of points has a slope of -2. That's the key. Parallel lines have the same slope. Let's look at some more. What is the point of intersection of BD and AC? Okay. Let's draw those lines. We want to find the point where BD and AC intersect. Okay. Well, we know that for parallelograms, that the diagonals bisect each other, which means that this would have to be a midpoint, but nowhere in this problem did they mention that this is a parallelogram. Well, let's see if maybe it is, because we've got these coordinate points. From 1 to 7, if I count from the x to the x, I have a distance of 6. Like from here, from the y to the y, a distance of 6. Distance of 6 and 6. Okay? All the sides are congruent, so this is a parallelogram. Okay? So we can definitely use the fact that the diagonals bisect each other. That means that however long this red piece is the same everything over here. This green piece is the same as this green piece. What type of point would this have to be in order for this to happen? Hopefully you're thinking it's a midpoint, okay? So we need to do midpoint formula. So I'm going to take, and you've got your option. I can calculate BD's midpoint or AC's midpoint. Either way, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to use B and D. So using B and D, I'm going to do x plus x. 1 plus 7 is 8, divided by 2. And I'll clean that up a little bit later. And then 7 plus 1 is also 8 divided by 2. That's just coincidence here. And then simplify that. B 4, 4. So that would be my answer. What is the midpoint of the segment joining 12, 2 and -5, -7? Okay, pretty straightforward. I mean, you just need to calculate the midpoint. Add the x's. 12 plus -5 is 7 over 2. 2 plus -7 is -5 over 2. That's in fraction form. In decimal form, 7 over 2 is 3.5, and -5 over 2 is -2.5. The apparent midpoint of AB is which of the following? So here's AB. What we would just need to do first is, since A and B aren't given to us, we would need to find those coordinate points. So if we find A is over 6 and up 6. B is over 3, up 3. So just use those points to calculate midpoint formula. A line segment has an endpoint of 3, 2, and the midpoint of the line segment is 6, -2. What are the coordinates of the other point? This is really different from anything else that we've done so far in this video. And we've only done this a couple of times in class. Best thing to do is draw a picture. Okay, we know that one endpoint is 3, 2, and one midpoint is at 6, -2. Two ways you could do this. I'm going to draw a picture. I think that's the easiest. Okay, and then I'll mention another way here. I'm going to draw my picture. So we've got 3, 2, and it really doesn't matter how you draw your picture. This is an endpoint, so I can put it on either end. And then my midpoint is at 6, -2. And then I'm going to put my other point here that I don't know what that is. Okay? Think of this. If this is a midpoint, then the distance from here to here is going to be the same from here to here. So let's just count. To get from 3 to 6, how much would you add? You would add 3. So I'm going to add 3 more. 6 plus 3 is 9. Do the same thing for the y's. How would you get from 2 to -2? You would subtract 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 more to get -6. And then you can always check your work. We could always go ahead and do midpoint formula with our two endpoints and make sure we get this. Which brings me to my second method. If it's multiple choice, we could just go through using this endpoint and take turns with each of these endpoints, calculating midpoint formula until we get out this answer. The diameter of a circle has endpoints -3, 2, and 3, -2, which is closest to the length of the diameter. Okay, this is length. Hopefully you're thinking distance formula. Or, like I said, you can plot these points and calculate the distance using Pythagorean theorem. Okay, make sure that you basically just need to memorize the formula. Label your points x, y, x, y. I can work this out quickly. So distance square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. -3 minus 3 would be -6. -6 squared is 36. 2 minus -2 would be 4, and 4 squared is 16. 36 plus 16 is 52. And don't forget to take the square root. The square root of 52 is approximately 7.2, so this is our answer. Okay, I hope that helped. So now you should be grabbing the worksheet, trying those problems, checking your answers, and then take the quiz on iTest. And good luck.